everyone. We're live on a Thursday night at 9 o'clock. Welcome to the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. Well, good to be with you on this Thursday night. We got a similar sort of a fixture list, I guess, to last week. In fact, very similar indeed. We've got the NPC round 5 matches taking place, the conductor, and Chris will be talking to us a little bit about that. But of course, we're going to start off with Rugby Championships. But first, let's introduce the panel. And I've got this on a different screen to normal, which is why you probably noticed I wasn't looking at the at the camera there. And so I'm just bringing that back here. But let's start at the top of the screen. He's had a bit of I've given him a bit of time off. And one of the reasons for that is because next week he's stepping into the hosting position. I'm going to a bachelor's down in Cape Town. I might even stay. Good to have you back on the show, mate. I know it's been a hectic time for you. You've been job hunting and all the rest, but I understand things have gone well.
Yeah, Brent. Yeah, it has been hectic. I was obviously in the UK for a couple of weeks back in July. Yeah, on the job hunt, and I've actually secured something recently, which I'm really, really happy about. A company called Design Sports. Maybe some of our European viewers might know of them. Yeah, so start with them 1st of October, and really looking forward to it. It's an amazing opportunity, like right up my street, and perfect next steps. Looking good. I'll be in Poland still for a little while, but next year we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, welcome to all the boys in the live chat there. Shark Brain saying who made money on the weekend. And just a quick one before I introduce the other two guests on the show. Mark, I got a call from Mark Dunphy this week. Now, Mark is sending me something. I don't want to say what it is. It'll rather surprise people on the show. But I think if he knew how difficult it was to send something to South Africa, he would never have even tried this. Absolutely ridiculous. We've had customs on us. I've given ID a couple of times. They want all sorts of nonsense to get this into the country. Anyway, eventually I hope to get what Mark has sent, and it'll certainly be good. And talking of guys, I just see Dave popping up. Are you still in America there, Dave, watching the tennis? But Dave sent me a cap 2 years ago. We're still waiting for that to arrive, so certainly looking forward to that. Welcome to the boys in the live chat. Let's go down to the bottom left of the screen there. The conductor, Gavin Cohen, has just been talking about him as looking like Josh Strauss, the old Lions rugby player. Conductor, good to have you on the show, mate. I gave you the week off last week. I saw you were away with the girlfriend. Things look good there, man. Looked like a good time.
Yeah, Brenty, thanks. It was really it's always lucky to get away to the bush for a couple of nights around the fire and listening to the jackals and the hyenas in the background, etc. And off social media for a bit. So it's always nice to take a bit of a break into the wilderness.
Excellent. And I'm just muting because I get a bit of interference sometimes. It also helps me to control him, which I think is quite important on the show. Let's welcome Oracle Rugby. Now, Oracle, I'm not going to lie to you. I was going to bench you this week. Things didn't go that well on the Aussie game. You literally talked up the Aussies and then you took the box -20, but you fought back in absolutely fine style, backing Argentina to win the match last week. So well done to you. And I happen to know that you also backed them at halftime at 9-1. And I was sorely tempted to follow, and unfortunately I hesitated. I didn't, but bloody well played. They must have ensured a profitable weekend for you.
It was, Brent, and I actually watched the show again, as I always do. And I've got a question after watching the show again for the viewers and for the panel, for that matter. One of the things I noticed in my sort of sermon, as you called it the other day, the range of that South African Australian game for me was very wide. So in my head, I tell you, I looked at that -8 Australia. It was 9-1, and I almost hit that submit button, and it would have lost because they only won by 8. But for a lot of the game, it looked like they would win by 9, 10, 11, 12, 15 even. South Africa were nowhere in that game. Pollard missing a hell of a lot of kicks. And then I said to people this week, had I won that bet, I would have probably had more on the Argentina game, and I didn't have as much as I wanted to. It was a nice profit for me, but I tell you, at halftime, I jump on there and I took some +8.5 at 16-10. I thought that was crazy, and then they had 9-1 and 10-1 available at halftime, and I mean, I thought that was madness. And then as I put on the group with 5 minutes to go, Argentina leading by 7. I've never seen a price like this in my life. Argentina -6.5 at 5-10 with 5 minutes to go. You got to look at that and think, geez, how much money was on that New Zealand team that they were tempting people to go for Argentina? The bookmakers must have made an absolute killing on that game. I think they lost on the Argentina game, but in running, I reckon they made a fortune. That was crazy. And yeah, it was a good weekend. And then I've caught some tennis bets over the week. I'm involved in this US Open. And I'm looking forward to some LRV golf this weekend. And yes, we'll chat rugby in a few minutes.
Brent, you're on mute. Brent. Brent, is it just me?
Sorry, guys. I'm muting myself there because I was coughing earlier. I haven't been that well this week. But just a reminder, give the show a like if you can. And I was just actually mentioning Dave Cooney in the US, fifth. Got some good advice. I'm a little bit worried about my Wi-Fi. It's looking pretty erratic. First game conductor. First game, New Zealand against Argentina.
Sorry, it's going to... I can hear you, Brent. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. I'm going to change connections. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm going to change connections. My connection's terrible.
Okay, no problems. No, so I unfortunately wasn't one of the guys that was on Argentina last week. I unfortunately bought the dummy regarding that game against the Box at Ellis Park. I didn't think New Zealand had turned the corner, but I thought they'd probably start playing slightly better. I had that game the other way around. I thought New Zealand would play it better than they did. So I mean, I was probably more New Zealand there. I know a couple of guys, and well called Oracle on Argentina there. That was a great shout. But I'm mistiming Rugby Championship at the moment. I'm mistiming it by a week. So basically, that New Zealand game, I think it was such small margins. Not to say that it would have made a big difference, but the ref, Nika Amishakeli, he was the most amazing ref in terms of what Argentina wanted. He doesn't play any advantage. So if you look at the way when New Zealand won scrum penalties, he doesn't allow advantage off the back of the scrum. He blows the whistle immediately. So New Zealand can't get that backline going, swinging out wide. But whatever the case may be, we move on to this week. So I went to bed last night with grand visions of a supremely changed New Zealand side. I thought I'd wake up this morning with seeing Dalton Papali'i at 7 and maybe Roger Tuivasa-Sheck at 12, and none of that has come true because they've changed absolutely stuff all. But so it is one of those things. Foster's sticking with the same side. That's brave considering their performance last week. But that is the side he's named is a side that beats the Box at Ellis Park. I'm going to stick my neck out again, and I'm fairly confident on this shot. For me, Argentina were absolutely beasts. They tackled like men possessed. The tackle count between Kremer, Montoya, and Matera and Gonzalez was absolutely through the roof. The Argentinian defense was incredible last week in Christchurch. I don't know if we'll see the same intensity this week in Hamilton. Obviously, heaps and heaps of pressure on New Zealand to perform. For me, this echoes what happened in 2020 in Australia, where Argentina beat them 25-15 rather. And then the next week, New Zealand bounced back with a 38-0 win. Because obviously the same intensity wasn't there by Argentina. And funnily enough, when New Zealand bounced back in Australia in 2020, the ref was Nick Berry. And funnily enough, the ref this weekend in Hamilton is Nick Berry. So for me, that's got a bit of a science to it. I just felt that in that first game, there were glimpses where New Zealand could have taken a hold of the game. They just didn't put enough foot on the throat. So what I mean by that is, I think in the first half, they scored that good Caleb Clark try in the corner, converted to go 9 points up. Immediately off the kickoff, they conceded 3 points and allow Buffetti to chip away. Buffetti chips away again, and Buffetti chips away again. So they just allowed too many times for Argentina to come back to the game. And likewise with that kickoff, with Scott Barrett failing to take it, and they score for kickoff. So for me, the things that would be, I assume, what I imagine will be far different is Nick Berry won't kill the game as much as the Georgian referee. I think the New Zealand discipline should be a lot better. And like I said, I think the small moments, I think New Zealand will be better. I just don't think the intensity and breakdown and defense will be as high by Argentina as it was in Christchurch. So I've seen -11.5 for New Zealand, which I like.
Right, excellent. So the conductor's nailing his colours to New Zealand there. I haven't seen any points lines, but let's go up to Chris and get his opinions on this game. Chris, I know you've been enjoying the Rugby Championship. What are you going with here? I know. Chris, you muted now, mate, and I didn't mute you. We're having an absolute, what was it? We're all having a disaster tonight.
I'm actually, I'm following conductor's sentiment there. To be honest, like, I'm enjoying the competition, but on the caps, absolutely, normally my betting strategy has been fine, but the caps, I haven't hit them through this competition, but I do follow conductor there. I was quite bullish on New Zealand last week, so I have no intention to change my tune for this week either. I just like looking at the game, like a few points that conductor made there. The change of ref, that ref was playing into Argentina's hands for sure. And if I just looked at the game on a whole, New Zealand started well, and when New Zealand was New Zealand, they were pretty dominant, and I think they are in a strange place because, they went ahead and it just looked like they thought they'd won the game by half time and they disappeared again. But their discipline is, I don't understand how their discipline is so bad. I anticipate the changes. I don't quite understand why they're persevering with this team, but they are. But what I do certainly expect that New Zealand are going to come hard. They're going to bring the heat, and they're not going to disappear this week. So I'm following a conductor sentiment. I might be against it, but Rainy, blah blah blah. New Zealand's record. You can look at the stats, and they might not. You might say, "What are you talking about?" But you got to look at the spots right as well. No one called them to beat us in Ellis Park. They had to come back, and they have to come back this week. And if they actually want to play for 80 minutes. Good luck, Argentina. And what happened also 2 years ago, with that conductor, I just really, really, really believe, I have a strong feeling that New Zealand are going to just come back this week and put it on. So I'm very bullish on the cap here, even at 14. If you can get less, absolutely, but also love the halftime cap as well, because I think New Zealand are going to come against us at Ellis Park. I think they're going to have a 3-4 try blitz first half and take Argentina out the game. So very, very bullish on the minus a halftime cap and the game itself. Because the bench, last week, the bench really did let them down, but they've got much better bench this week. So even if they are 10 points ahead, I see them closing out the game. So I'm putting my out here as well. I'm back in New Zealand this week, and I expect at least a 20-point victory this week.
Excellent. Interesting to see all the boys in the live chat. Plenty of different opinion there, ranging from Rion going for Argentina on the board again. A lot of guys agreeing, though, with yourself and the conductor on New Zealand on the cap. I was just laughing to myself when we were all muting ourselves and that. It'd be funny tonight if I had this massive sponsor wanted to watch the show. And it's like, let me see this professional setup. And in the first 5 minutes, you hear about 30 seconds of talking. And it also got me laughing because I put the show out as a podcast afterwards. I don't really push it around too much, but I know a lot of guys like to listen to it on the way to work and that. And they're going to have long, awkward silences tomorrow. They're not going to know what's happening. Let me make sure to unmute the Oracle now. There he goes. He's unmuted. Oracle, what are your views on this one, mate?
Okay, so first of all, I want to say that the conductor and Chris, for that matter, are right with regards to how New Zealand played. It was a game of inches, actually. In fact, there were two plays that I remember particularly fresh in my mind of how close it got. So I'm on Argentina on the board, and obviously I'm watching the score. My wife's sitting there, are we winning, are we not winning? And I'm trying to tell her, when I'm clapping, she goes, is that good or bad? And I'm going, oh no, and I'm trying to explain the whole thing. And anyway, they had a situation where New Zealand were losing by, I think it was 1 or 2, and they had a penalty, and they were at the 40-meter line, the 10-meter line, and they chose to go for the corner, and they stuffed up the line out. I think if they kicked that ball over the poles, they get it. That was a simple kick. And I'm also of the opinion that it would have changed the game completely. New Zealand would have won by 7 or 8. As I said last week, the range for me was 5 to 15. And I advise people that like New Zealand, take 1 to 12 and cover your bet with Argentina on the board. I'm hearing stories and I'm seeing comments. New Zealand won't lose back-to-back against Argentina. I'm going to tell you, I'm sorry. This Argentina team doesn't care anymore. They've got what they wanted to get. Last week I spoke about that prop or the hooker, whatever he was. I can't remember his name. He just wanted to beat New Zealand. They've done it. They're going on into this game with confidence. That New Zealand team is. They've got nothing. They've got no locker room. They've got no government. They've got no public. They're in massive trouble. They've just lost a lifetime record of losing 3 times in a row in New Zealand. I'm sorry. I just cannot see this New Zealand team winning this game. And if they win this game, I'll be very surprised. How's that? Never mind plus anything. I'm just going 5 to 1. And if I can get a little bit better during the week, I'll take it. But I'm happy. 5 to 1 Argentina to win this game on the board. Good enough for me. I don't need to. I'm not having as big a strike as I did last week. But I think I'm right. I'll tell you what I have done, though. And I'm going to tell you a little story quickly before that, as I always do, sermon oracle. 2016, I think it was 2016, Leicester, January. I've come back from my holiday down in around the country, and I hear these guys talking about Leicester. I said, Leicester, I can't even spell Leicester. What are you talking about? I said, who's this? I know they're leading the EPL. I said, really? Okay, so I go have a look at the odds and the log. I said to him, 33 to 1 and this team's leading? And they said, sure. They can't win. I said, are you joking? I took 100,000 to 100 Rand. Okay, Leicester, Lions double. That's, how close I got because they lost to Wellington in the final and they had that game with 100,000 to 100 Rand. I'm not joking. 100,000 to 100 Rand. I missed it. But let me tell you, I see the same thing with Argentina. You want to never mind 100 to 1 after week 1. You're giving me, and I'd say, did you back Leicester at 5,001? I said no, because I didn't think they'd win. But at 33 to 1, when they're leading the EPL in January, I'm interested. Now we've got Argentina leading 12 to 1, Brent. I put on the WhatsApp group the other day. This is the closest this Rugby Championship has been in its lifetime, in its entirety of 10 years or 9 years or whatever it is. You want to give me 12 to 1 about the team that's leading? I'm going to take it. Never mind the 5 to 1 this week. I've climbed into the 12 to 1. And I'm going to tell you that any one of these 4 teams can win. And I'm going to say they've probably got the same chance. They've all got a 25% chance, in my opinion. You never mind 5 to 1 this week. You can have a nibble like I have, because it is a nibble compared to last week. But I've taken 12 to 1 about this team winning this championship. And I'm telling you, that is the value.
And I'm pleased you raised the outright there, because I was just having a look earlier. One
more thing before you talk. So I backed South Africa at 18 to 10 before the tournament. Took about a 15 and 14 to 10. And I'm going to say that last week, they were a bigger price or the same price as they are this week. They lost the game and shortened or stayed the same, which is crazy. Never happens in this tournament. I'm sorry to say, but anybody can win this tournament. And if you're really piling into 7 to 10 New Zealand right now, you're in huge trouble. I don't think there's any value there. I think it's a crazy punt. And for me, you back South Africa, Australia, or you back Argentina. In fact, Argentina is the one for me.
Now, let's have a quick look at the outright betting with the other guys then, because I tend to agree with you, Gav. I mean, last week you asked me before last week what price for New Zealand, and I said they'll go odds on. But I was thinking 8 to 10, 9 to 10, and they went 3 to 10. For me,
what did you say for 12 to 10?
Yeah, no, exactly. But I wouldn't take a 7 to 10. Now, conductor, you got any views on the outright say Helcott coming in and saying he thinks Australia are the value? Obviously, Gav, and I can't argue with what Gavin's saying there. I mean, the reality is if Argentina pulls something out the bag this weekend or even probably get a bonus point, they're very well placed going into 2 tests against the South African side that looks vulnerable.
Yeah, Brenty, at those odds, I'll probably look at Australia. I think that's probably where my money would be. I think our trip to Argentina won't be a walk in the park. But to be honest, I haven't focused too much on the outrights there. it's been I think it's been a great tournament to watch from a neutral perspective, because it's literally been 1 week, one team, 1 week another team. Where in the past we've seen New Zealand absolutely clean the floor within 3 weeks, and we know who the winner was. So, I mean, this is actually what we want in a tournament. So we want unpredictability, and we want it to go down to the final weekend. So this is fantastic for the rugby. But in terms of the outright, I'd probably say Australia at the moment look the business. But I know one of the remaining Bledisloe games is at Eden Park, so that makes it a bit tricky for them to try and get a win there. But that's probably where I'd stick my money.
Right. Well, let's get Chris's views quickly. Outright, anything for you, Chris?
No. I'm sticking out of outright. It's been too unpredictable. But I'm telling you right now, New Zealand are not losing. They're not losing.
Well, it was a nice confident selection with Chris there. But I tell you what, we're going to go on to the next game now, and that, of course, is going to be the South Africa game. And what have we got here? Australia -1.5 against them. And Oracle, I'm going to let you lead us in this game, Oracle. What do you think here? I'll have a look while you're talking what my original handicap was, but I think this is probably pretty much to where I kept it. I think I went Australia -2.5.
Yeah, so they started off with South Africa favourite early in the week, and now Australia favourite when they came out with that team sheet. I've got to say, I showed my kid and a couple of other people that know players, because I reckon the team's better this week than it was last week. But anyway, I think that, they arrived at that cricket ground, and the audio was rubbish, and they apologised in the 30th minute. I'd like to ask SuperSport officially now, while I'm on air, can I have my refund for my DSTV for the month, please? Because that game was badly audioed. And and now after watching that, there's no ways I'm watching a rugby game in a cricket stadium, and it was a joke. Australia played well. They did. I expected the range to be a bit wider, and as I said a little earlier, I wouldn't have been surprised if Australia won the game by 20. I think this week's a little bit different. As for that prima donna character with his little moustache, he surely can't have any girlfriends or even boyfriends for that matter, whichever way he swings. I don't think anyone quite likes that little midget. But that was the only entertainment of the afternoon, or morning, should I say. I'd like to say that I'm going to go, I know that you always punt this bet, you and Chris for that matter, the 1 to 7 either way. I'm going to tell you, go the other way. Take -7 either way, because this literally can go any way. And I'm going to have an equal stake, -7 South Africa and -7 Australia. And if I don't win, it's a small enough stake, I'm going to get a reasonable price. I'm guessing I'm getting over 2 to 1 both sides, 3 to 1 maybe. No, in fact, I'm probably getting 4 or 5 to 1 both sides. Haven't even looked, but that's the play I'm going for. I'm going for somebody wins this game by a lot, because I honestly think anyone can win. I have not enough confidence to back either of them on the board at the 8 to 10s, 9 to 10s, or even monies. Not interested in high stakes for equal stake profit. I'm looking for a small punt and rather get a price, which I tried to do last week. It didn't work, but I've got no feeling on this game. I just think it really can go anyway. And seriously, back to back Australia against South Africa in Australia. I don't know how often that's happened. I don't know how often we won back to back. I don't have enough. I think he's still practicing this Ninaba. It does look like a decent team. I don't know that much about it, so I can't comment on that. But I just think that this is the value is that this can go either way. I don't think it'll be close.
Yeah. Steve Reed saying, I think a lot of guys agree with this, Steve. You get excited looking at the pack, but then you get behind the pack, and there's certainly some concerns about that South African side. Let's go to Chris. Chris, you were very positive in the first game. Is this a game where you're struggling for selection, or are you going to come out firing? Chris, you muted.
Of course I am. Yeah, This is not an easy game by any means. Honestly, the South African team, the last couple of weeks are just so difficult to call. Australia, they're up for us every time at home. I do agree with Oracle that probably it could be anything, but we got a team that actually, maybe barring the Wales second test that we played against, but I know a lot of us we want to stay players, but we picked a team, but we still had Pollard at 10, but Willems at 10 is a whole different ball game for me. So I quite like this team. I like the starting pack. I think like last week, people might see my comments like I was so cross, like I was like literally flipping raging. But I just think this week, I think we're gonna come. I think this team is going to create opportunities. Like we had opportunities last week, which we didn't take. That's the problem. So I was, to be honest, never mind the cap, I was definitely looking at the points this week. And I'm being honest, I think there were so many points left out on the park last week. So I was really hoping for an under 50 points line this week. I've seen there's weather about, which has now put a massive damper on that sentiment. If it's still half dry, I just think this team is going to give Australia opportunities. We're going to have far more opportunities, and I think we will take them this week. Because the team, when I watch rugby, I see teams not take opportunities like we did last week. That's an anomaly as well. Like I think we will get over the line one or two more times than we did last week. So I think there's going to be a lot more scoring opportunities this week if there's not a freaking bloody squall coming through bloody Sydney. It's this opening of this ground, so it's going to be a carnival atmosphere. I just think both teams are just going to have a go. So I was all over points until someone was telling me that the weather's not good. So I'm going to keep that there. But on that note, I don't think I'm going to go against Gavin here. I don't see separation. I think this is going to be a dogfight. And I am going to say the 1-7 is a great bet at even money. I think it's going to be a 3-point game, could even be a draw. So Gav, you called it. I was nodding. I thought you were going to say it as well. But then obviously true to your form, you went totally opposite. But yeah, I'm on the opposite of Gav. It is probably anything game, but I'm going to stick my neck out here. This is going to be a close game, and there are going to be tries either side. I think it's going to be a carnival atmosphere. Both teams are going to go. We don't know what we're going to be. We could be messy, but Australia also, we have to be better than last week. I'm going to say, though, there's a problem in the book. We go on about Forster. Oh, team one playing for Forster. I don't think we're playing for Nina Bar. I'm honestly, we're on the same boat as New Zealand. We're going down that road. When Rassi comes back, you might see something different, but we're not playing for Nina Bar. I worry about the motivation. I think guys are just too comfy. We wait until next year. So I worry about motivation, but I just think it's going to be a free. Willems is going to look up. We're going to have far more opportunities. So I'm going to go for, if you want to, I'm going to say if it's dry, I'm going to wait for the pitches. I would love I'll say anything over 49. But I think it's going to be a close game. And I think at even money 1-7 is a great bet.
Right, so going totally the opposite of the Oracle there. Just two things I want to touch on. First of all, the link to the newsletter down below. We had a good week last week. The best bet was Argentina on the plus, but also hit the treble. Didn't get too greedy. Just went for a treble at 21-4, and then came home quite nicely as well. And then, guys, if you're in Cape Town, next week, Friday night, Henrik and myself, Oracle, Coyle, I'm hoping he's going to be there as well. We're going to be meeting up somewhere. We'll announce it on the next week's show. I'll ask Chris to announce it. I also put it on Twitter and on the Good for the Game forum. We're going to hook up somewhere there at the waterfront. So if you are based in the Cape area, come and join us for a drink. We can talk a little bit about the sevens. I think it would have started that evening as well. And yeah, keep an eye on the Twitter, at Brent Graham on Twitter. I'll keep you appraised of our movements in case Henrik wants to drag us to one of the dodgy places that he hangs out at late at night. So I don't want to mention anything, but I've always considered myself a bit of a maverick, I've got to tell you. But let's move on now, and let's move on. And
what a maverick, or you like maverick? What is it?
No idea. Good, Doctor?
Brenty, sorry, I just want to first ask, can you hear me? Can you hear me okay, guys? I see Dino saying in the comment section my audio is a bit poor.
Yeah, it's
not as good as it usually is. We can hear you though, so we can hear you.
Yeah,
it's definitely not
audible,
you're normally
not
crystal clear, even when you're slurring, it actually comes out quite clear normally. So yeah, there's a little bit of it's just a bit fuzzy, I would call it, but we can make out what you're saying, so don't worry.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what's going on there. I'll have to. It's maybe my PC. I mean my laptop. I'll try and sort it out. Okay, but that was. I must admit, I missed the first 25 odd minutes, 30 minutes of the game, of the Bok game. I was a bit too tied up in the Auckland versus Otago game, so I was trying to watch one on the iPad, one on the TV, and obviously I watched that Korovetti tackle on Mapimpi. And whatever the ref decisions was, exactly what Gavin said. It's that's why I'll never be a big match punter. Test match rugby is about small margins, small decisions, small things going away. You don't get 10 opportunities in test match rugby to swing the ball wide. You get 2 or 3 good opportunities which were kicked away. Inches. That's what test match rugby is. It's a matter of inches. Like Al Pacino said in Any Given Sunday, you add up all those inches at the end of the day, and that's the difference between winning and losing. And the South Africans didn't win the inches. Now, what I mean by that, so I'm going to use quite expletive language here, and I'm sorry for anyone that's listening on the podcast, but right, when Mapimpi got tackled by Korobetsi and all the Aussies are whooping each other and high-fiving each other, get the fuck in there and push them around. Get angry. Like, let's get something going. They absolutely mentally dominate us in that moment. They were pumping us. They were laughing at us. Get Bucky, guard up Bucky's Bertha. Would have been great. He would have been flicking everyone in the ear, rubbing one in the head. Get the focus off what they're doing. Why did they ever just sit back and allow Mapimpi to get pushed into tackle, into touch, and did nothing? We sat back and did nothing. The Aussies are the best at mental games. That's why they're one of the best. We're one of the best test sides in cricket. Mentally, they're incredibly strong. They hype themselves up massively. After that tackle, they were ballistic, disrupted momentum. Then what do? We from 5 meter we pick and drive. Dwayne try was held up. Didn't get the try. Yes, yellow card. Oxygen held up. Complete momentum shift. Shift the momentum back in your favor. That was a guy, it was so unappreciated. Bucky's Bertha was a master at it. He used to take all the attention on himself. People used to hate him, and they used to focus on him, take all the attention off their game. I mean, he did it brilliantly in the Lions series. He was blowing guys kisses. He was rubbing guys in their head. I mean, now this massive focus, blowing you kisses. How are you supposed to focus on the game? But that was a crucial moment for me. Why did nobody fly into that when all the Aussies were high-fiving each other and bum-tapping each other? Why didn't any of those Africans go and fly in there, just create some disruption? But nevertheless, those were small moments. I mean, that first half was very, very poor by us. Like I said, that scrum advantage turnover on their 5 meter, massive turning point in the game. Oxenchair held up. Dwayne Vermeulen should have scored. I mean, we were incredibly poor at times, but I can't see it happening again. I think we've chosen a far better pack. I like Kanan Moody. I call him Conan. I don't know why, but I like Kanan Moody. He's a young lad, but he's big, 90 kgs, 1.9 meters tall. So I like this box side. For me, it's a win for me. Yes, we were incredibly poor. Yes, our record in Australia is not amazing, but this Australia side is not amazing. We made Reece Hodge look incredible. He hasn't looked incredible for 2 years. How's that possible? Nola Lucia was flicking out at the back of his hand to Fraser McWright to score an RC try. Like they were so cocky. You need to wipe the cockiness off the face. Just be aggressive. Just hit one oak. Doesn't give away the penalty. It doesn't matter. Just take away the momentum. Australians win mind games. Just absolutely be brutal for the first 10 minutes. You win it. That's it.
Well, I'll tell you what, talking of aggression, I'm actually getting quite scared here just even sitting in my study. If the conductor's only 60 k's away from me, I'm flipping nervous. Passionate stuff. That's been bubbling up all week, no doubt about it. Gavin, you had your hand raised. You wanted to say something there?
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to mention to the conductor that he got my son's attention. He's playing GTA 5 here. I haven't heard a word from him in about 60 minutes.
Have you lost
He's talking about Reece Hodge, and he's all over it. You got his attention. But I also wanted to mention that you gave a warning with your explicits. And I got to say that, unfortunately, I think I've failed about 9 times in the last couple of years with Brent. And in fact, the last time I said to him, you'll probably mute that out. And he said, no, Gav, this is live. So at least you've given a warning. I don't give warnings. But you're 100% right, yeah. No, that was a great sermon. It was one for the books. Well done. I like that.
Okay, guys, well, we're going to, my Wi-Fi is playing up tonight, so if I interrupt at any time, apologies. It's probably because I can't hear anything and I think you finished speaking. So, but Oracle, you're not going to obviously stay on, I don't think, for the NPC. So let's get your best bets at this point then on the weekend.
Yeah, the best bet for me, Brent, and I just want to say I used to talk in units, and I still sort of do to quite a few people. But I'll tell you that what I spent last week, Australia, South Africa was probably a unit. I went to about 3.5 on the Argentina game. This week I'm going to do 2 units on the Argentina game. I'm going straight on the board. I've already taken some outright, as I said, at 12-1 for the championship. I'm a 2-unit punter on the board here in Argentina, and I am a half a unit minus South Africa, half a unit minus Australia. I said 7, but I've got to tell you, it might even be 10, minus 10, minus 10, minus 9, minus 9, that kind of thing. I just think this will be a digit. It could be, or should I say, I think it's more likely to be a double-digit win by either side. Probably South Africa more than Argentina. We haven't seen back-to-back by any of these teams, any of them. Even Argentina with their Scotland games, their Australia games, South Africa with New Zealand. I don't think we've seen back-to-back anywhere. I think it could quite be the reversal. If you are New Zealand, if you like New Zealand before listening to me, and you follow me for whatever reason, take 1-12 New Zealand to cover your Argentina bet. So do the opposite of what I said last week. Go have a little bit bigger stake on Argentina to win on the board, and whatever you're worried about, take it on whatever you've staked, cover that stake, and maybe a little bit more on the 1-12 New Zealand. But I can't see it being bigger than 12 New Zealand. Really, this is a plus Argentina all the way. But I'm going for the value here, and I think they'll do it.
Excellent. I always enjoy this part of the show. It's where only the university degree guys can understand Gav's bet. It's like, but no, Gavin, excellent, man. Listen, first of all, great having you on the show. Secondly, look forward to seeing you next week, without a doubt. It's going to be great. I'll see you on Wednesday night. I'm actually going to be staying at Gavin's house, so I'll be locking the door. But yeah, looking really forward to it, mate.
Yeah, so I was actually a bit worried because I thought maybe we had a show next week, but I see there's no rugby, just the NPC, and then the URC starts the following week. So I won't be on the show next week.
Yeah, the Gallagher Premiership starts. So Chris is going to host the show next week. The Gallagher Premiership starts as well. So you wouldn't have featured next week anyway.
No,
but there's certainly boys rubbing their hands at the Gallagher Premiership, I can tell you. So they'll have that on next week.
Yeah, I'll be involved in the URC, and I'll definitely be involved in the Heineken Cup or Euro Cup or whatever they call it. South African teams are involved. I will be studying that. But yeah, the French and English rugby on its own, not really too interested. NPC, National Production of Cement. You guys can carry on without me. It can win without my money. I'm happy. And yeah, we'll see you next week. And listen, there's a big reunion down here. Well, not reunion, a first up, I suppose, you, me, and Hendrik. So those have got a little bit of money, if they've won some nicely on the weekend, why don't you fly into Cape Town for Wednesday and Thursday night next week and join us?
That sounds good. We'll certainly try and tempt the likes of Coyle and perhaps the conductor if he has a cracking weekend. Gavin, thanks very much, mate.
We're in with conductor. We've got room for you. Don't worry.
Laka, thank you, the Oracle. Always a great value Oracle on the show. Good to have you, mate. Right, let's get on to the Bunnings NPC.
Yes, mate.
And Chris, you haven't got a word in for a while then, because you were that bullish on the South Africa game, and the other guys certainly were. So let's start you off. I know you follow the NPC, but I also know it's not your bread and butter. But you said you've got a few opinions tonight. Is Manawatu plus 21.5 against Tasman? Is that a game you've got a view on?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, not in this game. Like Manawatu have been poor this season, so if you are going to have a bet on the cap, you can't be back in Manawatu. Unfortunately, I think Tasman probably will cover that. Maybe not as big as the other bigger teams have covered them, but I'm not back in Manawatu, not at all.
Right, and conductor, yourself on this opener?
Yeah, Brenty, this is a hell of a tough one, because Manawatu are losing on average by 40 points every game. So they've shipped some absolutely huge losses so far in the NPC. Tasman obviously are missing heaps of players through injury and through All Black selection. I expect Tasman to win this game, but it's a little bit too hard for me to call confidently. I can see Tasman covering this, and I can also see Manawatu covering this as well. Manawatu with Brendan Yosei and Ed Fidal back at wing, so that's a big plus for them. But they've been absolutely awful at stages. Tasman likewise have got Lester Fonga Anuku back at wing, and Fatuli Pa'a at outside centre with him and Levi Moore. It's a good centre combination, and Max Hicks and Quinn Strange back at lock. So a far better looking Tasman side, but geez, they've been poor. This is an incredibly tough one. I can see, like I said, Tasman covering just purely because of how poor Manawatu have been. Manawatu are badly missing Jamie Booth and Seamus Hurley-Langton, who went off the Connacht. So, that's a bad one. The bet I would probably look at here, the points line started at about 53.5. It shot out to 59.5. I'll probably look at an unders here. My thinking being that Manawatu haven't scored over 20 points so far in NPC so far. So probably I see them scoring about 16, 17 points, which means that Tasman would have to score 43. And I don't really see the Tasman side doing it. So I'd probably look at an unders here. This is probably my trickiest bet of the weekend. I'll probably look at unders and hope that Manawatu make that first half really, really tough.
Oh, well, let's stick with you for the next game. Sorry, I think have I jumped onto the rock? No, I've jumped way down there. Sorry, the screen moved as I was pressing the button. Taranaki plus 6.5 against Waikato, Conductor.
Yeah, Brenty. So this line opened at about 7.5, shot out to about 9.5, 10.5, and since then money's come onto Taranaki. It's another tough one. We haven't seen the Waikato team sheet yet, but I've taken Taranaki plus 7.5. This game is at Yarrow Stadium. It's the better stadium, not the rubbish football pitch one. There was supposed to be a lot of weather around in I'm trying to think, in New Plymouth. Sorry, just trying to get my head around all the names. It's supposed to be a lot of weather around New Plymouth, but it doesn't seem to be that heavy. It still might be a bit wet. Tupavai back for the Bulls for Taranaki. I just don't know about weight. Jason Potras looks like he is injured. So they've got Waite, who's a centre, coming in at 10. I don't know how well he goes. And then it was a guy, and once I put the money down, I didn't realize it's his brother. I thought it was the 15 is Jacob Ratavatavuki-Neekins. Then I saw it's his brother, Isaac Ratavatavuki-Neekins. So I didn't know it was his brother making his debut. But nonetheless, yeah, I'm on Taranaki. Waikato have played well so far, really impressively. But Taranaki was so impressive last year at home, so I've got to take them on the plus. I'm just going to hope, with a little bit of hope and prayer, because I'm already on the plus, I'm hoping that Waikato do a bit of a rotation.
Well, Farid is on Waikato, but a fair amount of support for Taranaki on the plus. Your hand coming in there. Chris, any views on this one?
Yeah, so like I said, please, guys, Conductor knows a lot more about this championship than I do. I do play it, but not my favorite. But if you want my opinion, I am on Taranaki plus for sure. Just my view. Probably not as in depth as Conductor, but I'll happily take view on Taranaki plus.
And I'm just bringing Henrik's post up because Henrik has been on fire in the NPC. Really, really some top selections on the Good for the Game forum and also on the show when he's been on. So he likes Taranaki to win the game there. Right, let's move on to the next game. And Chris, we'll start with you to see if you've got an opinion on this one. Southland been a bit of a cash cow for some of the guys on Good for the Game. I think that's 7.5 against Wellington.
Yeah, I see that, sure. So guys, please, I just need a bit of caveat here. This is not my strength, just my view, and it's what I'm gonna say. I agree, Southland are much better than they've been, but I would be on Wellington minus. I think Wellington not too good for Southland.
Conductor, you're going to argue with that one because Southland really have been a team for you this season. I know for Henry.
Yeah, that's done very well for me, Brent. I love, really, it's one of they're all my favorite team in PC rugby. I love the Stags. I love Invercargill. It's like my mecca. One day when I've saved enough money, I will fly to rugby park in Invercargill, and hopefully the weather will be pouring with drizzle and all that. So it would be the right way to be there because it's right down deep in the south. it's always an interesting one, hey, because Wellington, if you look at that side, it's absolutely stacked with Super Rugby talent. I mean, Aidan Morgan, TJ Perenara, Julian Savia, Umanga Jensen, Billy Proctor, and then you got on the bench, you got Ruben Love and Jackson Garden-Bishop, and then at 15, you got Connor Garden-Bishop. But for me, it's shocking. I just want to take a quick side note. How shocking is maybe New Zealand rugby is in the situation they're in, because they don't actually pay attention to what's happening in the rest of the world. They never bothered to keep up with world standards. And I'll just say that because of their local competition, Asafa Moore, the hooker for Wellington, it was actually, if you did that to a man on the street, you'd be arrested for assault. He literally flew into the guy with his shoulder while he was defenseless. Got a yellow card in the game, wasn't cited. So it's a big indictment on New Zealand rugby that kind of thing is allowed to happen. Asafa Moore should have got. I mean, if you look at that, what happened at Angus Talbot in that Ireland series, it was a small clash of heads. He got 3 games. Asafa Moore flew into the guy's head with his shoulder and got a yellow card. So this is a problem. If you want to maintain standards, you've got to maintain it across the board, not only in provincial competitions. But nonetheless, like I said, Wellington stacked with Super Rugby talents. I'm hoping and praying that Solomon Alamano is back for Southern Stags. Robbie Robinson at 15 is just not doing the business for me. But like I said, with a guy like Marty Banks, he guides him around the field. For me, Southland are very, very well coached. They punch way above their weights, etc. I'm not going to take the cap. I'm lining this up massively for one specific thing. I see SuperSport I don't think they're showing it. If you can get a stream, it's going to be incredibly windy in Invercargill. When I say windy, it's like, first off, who has that win, you take the minus or the plus, and likewise on the other side. So this is it, yeah. Look at this, yeah.
That is crazy, mate.
No, that's disgusting,
I
hey.
remember you tweeting it. That's why I went and found it now. That is absolutely...
No, that's disgusting.
I mean, that high... when I see some of the things other guys get sent off for that, how that wasn't picked up A in the game and B cited afterwards, I've got no idea.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
No, so I mean, so a couple of changes in the Wellington forwards, but they haven't been amazing at all this year. I mean, they lost to Northland at home. So I like Southland to get up here, and I like Southland the plus. But like I said, for me, I'll be looking in play. Incredibly windy. It generally blows from side to side. So whoever has a first off wind, I'm going to take the plus or the minus, and then likewise the other side.
Right, Henrik Swat making the point there. NPC for him, the easiest provincial comp in the world, and certainly you can't argue with the boys' form at this stage. Shark Brain says the reason why Australia and New Zealand struggle in the north, they get away with these tackles. And you're 100% right. When the standard of refereeing is different, then suddenly you get nailed with those type of things. Now, let's go on to the next game, Conductor, and you jump in here. Northland plus 5.5 against Auckland.
Yeah, Brenty, this is my strongest one of the weekend. Look, I could get Brent here, and that's fine. I've got no issue, but I've got to back my cuts here. Northland have gone well so far. Beat Wellington. Beat Southern last week. But like I said, the first 3 games, I think, was all in horrendous conditions. They beat Taranaki as well, first game up. They played in very bad conditions, which suits their style of rugby. They don't play a very points-orientated game. They tend to keep possession of the ball a lot. They're absolute possession merchants. So I mean, playing Whangarei, it's an afternoon kickoff at Whangarei. I haven't seen the Northern team sheet, but I saw Ofa Tuafangasi practicing with New Zealand. I assume he's not going to be there. Obviously, Jack Goodhue has a knee injury, and then they're missing Dan Hawkins. He had a red card last week, but considering the standards of New Zealand officiating, he might be back this week. I mean, it was another horrendous red card, massive head clash. I'm just not sure if Robinson or in a Rangers back for Northland, not too sure. But like I said, I still like Auckland. They can tend to be a little bit lazy away from home. That's my only concern. At home, amazing. I mean, they absolutely dominated Otago last week. But Marcel Renata and Alex Hodgman at starting props You got Angus Taylor coming off the bench for Auckland. And then Roger Tuivasa-Sheck also coming off the bench for Auckland. He's been released from the All Black side. And I love AJ Lamb at centre and Salesa Riasi at wing. And I enjoy Harry Plummer. Super Rugby level, he can be a bit atrocious. But, for me, I think Northern is overpriced here purely because they've been on a very good run, etc. Auckland will want to take this, will want to win this. They want to top that log. I think they need to win this to top the log on their side of the conference. Like I said, it can be a situation. Auckland can get super lazy, but with Taubau and Taubau coming off the bench, I see him then dominating the scrums, and hopefully Roger Tuivasa-Sheck absolutely smokes him in that second half.
Right, just having a look at some of the comments here. Auckland on the minus from Farid. Conductor, Reverend, agreeing with you there. Good spot to fade Northern. But the one I was looking for, I've just started, was Johann Esterhuizen's weekly treble. He's going for 3 in a row. Weekly treble, Bay of Plenty win Taranaki plus 6.5, and Southland plus 7.5 at 6-1. So Johann is in some good form there. I see Henrik's given that one the rubber stamp as well. But let's quickly get Chris's view on this game. Any views on this one, Chris?
Yeah, I'm the same view as the previous game. Like, Wellington are a much better side than Southland, and so Auckland are than Northland. So I'm Auckland all the way here. This is quite a low handicap. I think Wellington should be over -10, and I think Auckland should be minus over 10. So I'll be back in Auckland and Wellington this week.
Chris, then Canterbury minus 10.5 against Hawke's Bay. Any views here?
Tough game. I love Canterbury. But yeah, it depends on the team sheets. I don't know if anyone's seen the team sheets. I think if they have their full team back, they should be covering this. But it's a tricky one. Hawke's Bay are bloody street fighters. They're hard to go against sometimes. But Canterbury struggled the last couple of seasons, but they're playing almost close to how they usually play. So I'm going to probably stay out of this. Gun to head, Canterbury on the minus.
Right. Gun to your head, Conductor. Is it even necessary?
No, Brent, I'm not going to. It's Canterbury Storm Week. So what I mean by they call it a Storm Week. What I mean by that, it's you play 3 games in a week. So Canterbury played last weekend. They played on yesterday against North Harbour, and they play again this weekend. So yes, they did a big rotation against North Harbour, but again, some of the guys did play. I expect a strong Canterbury team here. There's always a come down. Hawke's Bay had their Ranfurly Shield last week. There's always a come down of Ranfurly Shield. So I like Canterbury on the minus. They're absolutely wiping the floor with everyone at the moment. I just think it'll be a come down from Hawke's Bay, but I prefer to look at points there. I like both teams. Both teams play very positive rugby. Both teams love to run the ball. So it's an afternoon kickoff in Christchurch. Weather looks good. So minus 10.5. If we can get a points line of about 52.5, I'll take the overs there as well.
Right. Let's move on to the next game then. And that is Otago minus 1.5 against Bay of Plenty. Now, I've seen Bay of Plenty. Johan, I think, has put it in his accumulator, his treble. And I know Henrik likes Bay of Plenty as well. Are you rubber stamping? Yeah,
Brent, I'm very much on BOP. Otago, I mean, they've had some okay games, but they're still not a side. They just struggle to score points, and I think I saw that against Auckland as well. I mean, even when I took a big minus, I wasn't actually that concerned because, if you're 7 points up, you actually don't fear them scoring two quick tries. So, missing badly a guy like Nareki. I mean, they just really. I don't know if Josh Dixon will be back for them, but I'm all over Bay of Plenty here. They've played really well. I mean, they absolutely wiped the floor with Taranaki. I think it was 46-6. They beat a good Auckland side in Auckland. They had a bit of a stumble last week against Counties. I think their discipline went a bit down the creek. But I expect them to be better. They just rotated a bit against Counties. Guys like, I think it was Sangster, Aidan Ross. I think a couple of guys were missing from Bay of Plenty. So But I expect Bay Painters to come back with a vengeance here in Otago. Otago haven't impressed me at all. They just struggle to score points. So, yeah, I'm all over BOP on the +1.5.
Right, Chris, anything on this one for you?
I'm gonna probably. I will stay out of this. This is a tough one. I'll stay out of it.
Right, well, that takes us to the final NPC game, and Chris will give you first crack at it if you do have any view on this one. North Harbour -7.5 against Counties.
No, not really. Counties are much better this year. Harbour, I like the attitude. You would expect Harbour at home to cover this cap. That's all I'm going to say.
And yourself, Conductor, to finish us off?
Yeah, Brent, I'm going to take Harbour to cover this as well. Obviously, like I said, they did a big rotation against Canterbury yesterday, so I expect most of the guys like Gatlin and Jamie Booth to be fairly much fresh. And I mean, when you've got a back line, when you've got a back three of Sean Stevenson, he took a bit of a big blow to the schnoz. He was spitting out a bit of clarets this on yesterday morning. But when you got Stevenson, Mark Talia, and Tavita Lee, I mean, geez, those are just deadly assassins in the back three there. Some really, really good players in North Harbour. I thought they were very unlucky to not to beat Hawke's Bay in that in the Rainford Shield game. So, all over North Harbour on the minus there.
Right, BTB Paradox agreed with you there, North Harbour for the win. That brings us to the end of the show. We've already had Oracle's best bets. Let's see what the other boys fancy. And he's just wet his lips just in time to tell us what his best bets for the weekend are. Conductor, take us away, son.
Yeah, Brent, absolutely. So, like I said, it could burn me, but I very much like Auckland on the minus. And I'm going to take Box to win. And then my third favourite would probably be Southern on the plus.
Right. And Chris, your best bets of the weekend?
Yeah, very much love New Zealand, but I'm going to say the best bet is the first half handicap because I really do believe New Zealand are coming up firing. So the minus cap at halftime, New Zealand. South Africa 1-7 against New Zealand, either side at even money is a great bet. So those are my two best bets for the weekend. Second up, I really do. If you can get under 50 for the South African game, I really do believe there's going to be points. Just check the weather though. If it's going to be too wet, don't do it. And I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to back Wellington to put Southland away.
Okay, no, that's fine. And look, for my best bet, you're going to have to wait for the news. It'll probably be out quite late. I've got a bit of a hectic start to that, and I'm probably going to wait for the points lines on the Rugby Championship games as well. So if you haven't subscribed, there is a link down below the show. First of all, before I thank my guests, thanks to all the boys on the live chat. I must admit, at this rate, I'm going to have to hire a producer for the show because I'm actually battling to keep up with all the live comments and see what the boys are saying, especially when my Wi-Fi was on the blink tonight. But excellent participation as always, guys. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Remember, for those of you in Cape Town, next week, come in and say how's it to all of the boys, the Good for the Game and the Handicap boys. We'd love to hear from you and have a couple of beers. And then to my guest, Chris, thanks very much. Great having you on the show. We'll be in touch next week to talk about your hosting and all of the best for that one. I know you Gallagher Premiership coming up. You'll have some keen guests on there as well.
Yeah, it looks good. Feels good. Yeah, good.
Excellent. And Conductor, you're looking a little bit. Your hair actually looks a bit ruffled there. I think you've had a good few pots over the course of the show. I'm sure you've got a big weekend lined up. And win big in your fly to Cape Town for the reunion, eh?
Yeah, look, as long as we at booth number 3 at Mavericks, I will see you there.
Yes.
Your name engraved into the
Maverick. It's a reserve booth there.
Excellent, Shark Brain. Yeah, you sum it up there nicely, mate. Let's make some money. Thanks very much, boys. Great
Cheers,
show.
boys. All the best. Good weekend.
Early on, but we'll see you, or Chris will see you at least.
I'll see you guys
next
next
week,
week, guys.
Chat.
Looking forward to it.
Handicap that matters.
Yeah, cheers, guys.